How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to Talking Wolves. We're here for a match preview today as Wolves prepare to go to Goodison Park to take on Everton. My name is Dave, and as always, I'm alongside a guest today. We've got Adam from Grand Old Team. Adam, how's it going, man?
All right, mate. Nice to speak to you.
Yeah, you too, you too. As always, we're going to be talking about Wolves. We're going to be talking about Everton, the season so far, because on paper they're probably battling for similar sort of positions this season as well. But before we kick off, make sure you go and check out our channel partners over at One Football. As always, cracking football app. You can check them out in the description down below for all your live scores, all your live football news, and all the match stats that are going to be displayed on the screen today are all from One Football as well. So go and check them out in the description down below. But Adam, Everton, what would you say, a bit of a mixed start to the season for them. I've seen sort of contrasting reports on Everton. Won one, drawn one, lost one, I think, in the league. But how do you
Yeah.
see Everton's start to the season going so far?
Yeah, so that's the definition of a mixed start, I suppose,
Yeah,
when you've one drawn, one and lost one. It's been it's been it's been a strange start to the season. Obviously, it's always tough, to kind of what you're trying to do. You're trying to wrestle that early season optimism that you have as a football fan. I mean, go into the Watford game the week before last, the first home game, and you have that excitement, but then you have to try and kind of manage these expectations, especially as an Evertonian as well, Dave, because over the years, we've had a couple of false dawns to say the least.
yeah.
So yeah, it's been to be honest with you, it's not been a start that I've been surprised by. I didn't expect us really to like hit the ground running and really get into our groove. I still don't expect us to be in our groove for a couple of weeks, to be honest. And the reason why I say that is because if you look at the signings that Everton made in the summer, we haven't seen very much of them yet, and we haven't really been able, I don't think, to bed some of these lads in, and that's quite evident in some of the performances. So this has not been a surprise to me. As I say, I've been wrestling with that early season optimism and trying to not get ahead of myself. I think Everton made some good signings in the summer, and we finished last season very strongly. So there was a reason to be optimism. It didn't come from a place of like, it didn't have any validity to it. It was a genuine. We had reasons to be optimistic, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
However, we do have to consider that Everton, that the signings that we've made that have got us, that have added to that excitement, we haven't seen too much of them yet. So yeah, it's been a mixed bag, but it's nothing that I didn't expect, if that makes sense.
I've got you, yeah. I mean, that's quite similar with Wolves. They signed a couple of players. Patrick Catrone, who was obviously quite a big signing, hasn't started a game in the league yet for us. Vallejo, as well, as only had Europa League appearances, and with yourselves, who's it like Moise Keane, Iwobi as well. They've all sort of struggled to well, not struggled, but they're not getting the start yet, are they?
No, no. So that those two that you've mentioned have started to play more of a part now. So
Okay,
against your friends over in Birmingham
yeah,
on last Friday night, this time last week, we saw Iwobi, we saw King for the last 20 of that match, and then both of those lads played a part. Iwobi scored against Lincoln on Wednesday night in the cup. But just a couple of other lads who Everton have signed. Kabamin, who's our replacement for Drissa, a guy who's gone off to PSG. He looked fantastic against Watford. Dave, a really, really good performance from him. Someone who's new to the league, playing in a position that's a relatively tough position, I think, to be plonked into. Looked great. Been injured, got injured now, and he's out for the next. Well, if we're led to believe, it could be up to 3 months. So that's
jeez,
really, really tough to
mm,
take. And then Delph as well, Fabian Delph, who I think gives us something that we haven't had. Really kind of combative nature to him, something that we've missed. I was really impressed with him against Lincoln. Again, I think you have to take the opposition into account there. But I think we've not seen too much of Dalf as well, because he played about 10 minutes against Crystal Palace and then got injured and has only just come back into the side. So yeah, similar position than to you guys in that respect. In terms of the lads that we brought in, we haven't really seen too much of. Hopefully, though, I mean, Everton desperately need to cement Alex Iwobi, and Moise Keane into the side now. Those two need to start against your lot on Sunday, and I hope they do.
Yeah, I mean, I was looking at obviously sort of past stats and stuff like that before we started speaking today, and I know it's been a mixed bag. I think I watched a couple of your videos last week or the week before when you played Watford, and I think despite you winning, I did sort of sense a couple of fans weren't 100% convinced by the performance. But
We're
I've,
Evertonians, mate. Listen, we are the best moaners in the Premier
hey, you
League.
like Wolves fans?
It's an inherent thing within us. We love a good moan.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, no, it was a good observation because the performance wasn't great against Watford,
Mm.
and there was a few concerns that we had there, which manifested themselves in the Villa game. So we were that moaning that you witnessed was actually valid.
Yeah, but like overall, I've looked at sort of your home form and sort of even going into the end of last season, it's very very decent. Like I think you've kept in your last 6 home games. I'm pretty sure you've kept 6 clean sheets. In that spell at the end of the season, I think you beat Arsenal, Chelsea, United, Burnley in straight home games. Obviously, you've gone and beat Watford as well. Do you as a fan see it as really strong home form, or is that sort of stat just goes over your head? Do you just what
No,
do you
no,
think of
not at
that?
all. That was a massive turnaround. So
Yeah,
the last time we conceded, it was Jesus scored for City
City.
actually back in like Feb, and it was in like the 93rd minute of the game. They were 1-0 up and they made it two, and he looped it over Pickford's head, and that was the last time we conceded. And I remember actually thinking at the back end of last season, I think after the final home game, that like if you just said to me at that point, Everton won't concede again until well, I mean, there's a good chance we may concede on Sunday because
Yeah,
your
yeah,
lot pose a decent threat. But if you were to say to me that Everton will go until almost September at least without conceding at home again, I'd have been absolutely flabbergasted. And the reason for that, Dave, is because Everton last season went for a period mid-season, earliest to mid-season, where we hit rock bottom in terms of the performances. If you some of your viewers may recall, again, it wouldn't have hurt you emotionally, but like it did us. But at Anfield, Jordan Pickford
yeah.
threw one down bizarrely last minute of the derby into the path of Origi. And we lost that game in the worst circumstances that you can lose a derby. And I'm used to Everton losing derbies, by the way. It happens every fucking year. But this was like very, very painful because Everton have played exceptionally well that day and deserved something from it. Arguably, probably the best we've played at Anfield since we last won there in 1999, which is a horrendous statistic. So, no, it means a lot that Everton haven't conceded at home. Everton's home form has dramatically improved, and that was one of the things, Dave, that kept Marco Silva in a job towards the
I
back end of
think
last
yeah.
season because the vultures were starting to round on him again, and he needed something. And I did something for the Premier League show in like January, and I remember standing outside Goodison and them and seeing that it was all about Marco Silva and his future, and could Everton sack another manager? And I said, look, he needs to find a formula to turn this around. The formula was the way we played at home, the energy that appeared back into our play, the rhythm that we had, and we managed to turn it around. And so yeah, to go into this game having not conceded since City back in Feb is pretty impressive, I think, by anybody's standards.
It sounds quite a similar situation to us. I think like our home is our fortress, and it sounds like Everton are sort of making that. I think if any team knows they're going to get something at home, I think you're in a great position. I believe Wolves haven't lost a game at home since the 2nd of January in all comps. So
Okay,
that's a really strong
what do you,
record.
what do you attribute that to?
You can always say atmosphere, but I don't know. I don't 100% know what it is. I think we're a lot more comfortable in possession and on the ball at home, but it's such a weird thing. You always think, at the end of the day, you're on a pitch, you play football, don't you? But I suppose they know they're going to be more comfortable, sort of attacking, going forward and stuff like that as well. But it is a strange one. But I think under Nuno, we've been terrific at home. I think we lost twice in the Championship at home as well. And, in the Premier League, we had a really good run as well. I honestly can't pinpoint one certain thing down to what it is. I think a away from home, we tend to be a lot more cautious, and that might be what it is. We sort of try to sit back a little bit, and I think try to soak up pressure, and that might be our downfall a little bit. And I think we do have that bit more confidence to play football when we're at home, especially against the likes of Manchester United. When we did them twice last season, we got a point already this season. I think we took about 15 minutes to suss out how they were going to play, and then we went for it. And as I say, at home, if it was away from home, I think we'd be a bit more cautious, to be honest. And that's why I think this game against Everton is going to be an interesting one, because I have spoke to a few fans. I think you'll agree that performance against Villa was disastrous for you guys. You just didn't get going, but you bounced back in the cup game. So how are you going? Are you confident going into this game because you're at home, or?
Yes, I am. Interestingly, you mentioned atmosphere there, and me and you, I remember you telling me previous to this conversation that you've interviewed professionals, and I have on the Everton side. And one thing they do talk about, because I've asked this directly to professionals, because it's always something before I started doing the stuff for Grand Old Team that I was intrigued by. I've never played football at a decent enough level. In fact, I've never played football at a decent level at all. So, I've got no idea what impact the environment has on a footballer, but every player says no, it matters. It matters a lot. And do you know what? Interestingly, the Everton's uptick in form that I've spoken about after Manchester City, post Manchester City back in Feb, coincides with a group of Evertonians called the Originals, which is a reference to Everton being the original team in the city of Liverpool. They got together and said, right, this is, we're sick to death of a bit of a flat atmosphere at Goodison. Because Goodison, some of your viewers will have been to Goodison. It's a fantastic stadium to go and watch football in the sense of the history and the tradition that surrounds you. And there's not many stadiums like it anymore. But sometimes the atmosphere is not the best at Goodison. It isn't. We have a level of expectancy. So what these lads did is they got together and they created, and they've done things. They've got involved with the club. They've worked with the club. So now before Z Cars rings, which is what the Everton players come out to, you'll hear a siren. Tony Bellew, who did this before he played Z Cars, when he walks out to the ring in the boxing. We've implemented that, and there's an area of the ground now to create atmosphere, and that they've been working quite closely with the club to enhance that. And that's actually correlated with an uptick, as I said, in terms of our results at home. And the players have mentioned it. The players have actually come out and said in interviews it really helps us, because you can, it puts the fear. That siren plays, and the whole crowd is just, when the players come out, the atmosphere now is just terrific at Goodison, and I think that does have an impact. So the atmosphere definitely plays a part. And then also, as you say, when you're at home, you can be a bit more expansive. You can play. You've got the crowd behind you. You can do your thing a little bit more. I think with your lot from the outside looking in, Dave, I've always sensed that your lot do better against teams that try and play expansive football, because
definitely.
they keep gaps.
Definitely.
You've got some terrific players. Martino in the middle of the park is just a wizard, and he gets a lot more space against teams like that. I mean, definitely. I am so envious of that you've got a player like that. It's just magnificent. I think he's fantastic. I mean, you've got great players across the park, haven't you? At the end of the day, you're a really impressive side, and it's going to be a tough game on Sunday for Everton.
Yeah, well, going back to those little factors of atmosphere, I mean, Wolves have started doing these like flame things before the game. They occasionally had fireworks. I don't know if they're still doing that, but just those little things and the pumping up the music and stuff like that. It's stuff that Wolves never did a couple of years ago, and it does make you think, like, is that something that just it helps the fans, and as the players comes out, you probably are right. Just those little things that you don't think about until you have this sort of conversation that really pump up the players. But it's one of those things. Quickly go back to Marco Silva. Obviously, I had a rough patch. He's always been under big pressure. Most clubs he's gone at. I always thought he was I rated him quite highly before he came to England, before he came to sort of Hull. Do you think there's pressure on him now, or is it calmed down a little bit, or do you think this could be a crucial season for him again?
Oh, this is still a make or die season for Marco Silva. My suspicion is that he won't. I don't know whether or not Marco Silva will be Everton manager for a long time. The reason why I say that is because I think the club's ambitions now are so pronounced, and the investment and the infrastructure.
The amount of money you've spent is quite a bit.
Not just the money, but also the way there's a real kind of structure now to the
Yeah.
way Everton do things. Sal Brands is the director of football at Everton, and Marco Silva's not his man. And that's not to say that that's the reason why Marco Silva will not be Everton manager into the far flung future. I think Marco's issue is that I don't think he has that longevity in a job. It's very strange to me that Everton have given him a 5-year contract. Which really puzzled me because he's never. You've mentioned that you were aware of him before he came to
Oh, he's
Everton.
never been at a club long though. Yeah.
No, no, he hasn't. He's normally starts incredibly well and then things go weird and then he leaves. I think what it'll be, I think Everton's expectations will probably outdo him in the end, and I think maybe a higher caliber manager may become available, and that might coincide with maybe us getting to the end of the season and not quite finishing as strong as the club would want from him, and him leaving like that, and I don't think that's a massive issue so much anymore with Everton, because I think the direction of the club isn't defined by the manager. The coach kind of plugs into that system. It's defined by brands, which means that it enables you to be able to change managers easier. Because what happens sometimes at football clubs, it might be the case at your place, whereas if Nuno leaves, and a new manager comes in with a different kind of philosophy or style, everything goes awry then within the club and everything changes direction. At Everton now, the direction's already defined. This team, I don't think has been created in Marco Silva's image. I think it's been created in Marcel Brands' image, and it's just down to Marco Silva to get the best out of that. So I rate Marco Silva. I think he's a fantastic man manager, and I think that's evidenced by what players seem to say about Silva. I've read stuff on him, when he was out in Portugal, and the players that have played for him, and they rave about him. I think he's a brilliant manager in that respect. I think, but I just think that there's a few areas where he probably maybe sometimes a little bit naive and rigid. And sometimes you look at it and you go, Everton don't really have this ability to change things drastically within a game. So if Plan A doesn't work, sometimes I'm like, okay, what is Plan B apart from just throwing on a striker if you're chasing the lead? It's like, okay, the style that we adapt at the start of a game is the style that we will probably try and finish the game with. And if things go in a different direction during the game, then sometimes I wonder whether Marco Silva is able to drastically change things. Brave enough sometimes to do that, but that's just my observation, obviously.
Well, yeah, it's definitely going to be an interesting game. I think Nuno has played Marco Silva away 3 times, twice in Portugal, once in England, and beat him every time. So it's going to be an interesting one again. I'm pretty sure one of them was last season, and as I say, 2 of them were in Portugal as well. We'll quickly move on to Adam. Score prediction. What do you reckon the score is going to be on Sunday?
I'm gonna say 2-2.
Okay, I like that.
Because you don't, which is weird, really, because you don't score too many. And Everton before Lincoln and Villa, so only 2 games, hadn't conceded yet. But I think it'll open up a little bit more. I think you might be a bit laggy anyway after your little trip out to Italy. Which, congratulations, by the way, European.
Cheers, thank you.
Jealous because they're amazing.
Yeah,
and you get to like mad places and drink mad ale and it tastes. So fair play to you there, lads. But no, yeah. So I think it'll be open game, Dave, and I think that Everton will probably go ahead, and then Wolves will peg us back, and it'll be a bit to and fro that way. I think.
2-2.
I'd like obviously, of course, it'd be a massive win for Everton. Because it's funny, the Guardian Football Weekly podcast, they bill 7th as the Everton Cup, but Everton haven't finished in 7th now for a couple of seasons. You're gonna have to change the name of it to the Wolves Cup if you do it again this season. But obviously, us too. I still think the best of the rest. People talk about Leicester. I'm not sure. People talked about Watford and West Ham. Absolutely not. It's basically the top 6 and then us. I think you've probably got a better starting 11 and we've maybe got a stronger squad. Yeah. That's how I think it is, if I'm being brutally honest. You've got probably better individual players than us. Not just about, I think, as I say, I've already mentioned a couple of them. You've got some really, really good players. But I think if you kind of trend it out, if you look at the entirety of our squads, I think then you say, Everton's might be a little bit stronger.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're two competitive sides. I'm looking forward to it, but I think it'll end up being a draw. I think.
I think I'd take a 2-2 as long as there's no major VAR involved because I'm not a big fan of the old VAR. I remember on our 888 Sport thing, you were a fan of VAR and I said straight away no. So, and we've
Yeah,
already had in our, I think, two of our first, no, but all three games we've had VAR involved for a goal disallowed, a goal scored there to check, and a penalty shout as well. So
yeah.
it is very. I don't know if Everton have had any experience of it yet, but it is very.
It's just
I don't know.
weird.
Yeah,
I think the creases will be ironed out, and I know you don't want to get into a
yeah,
debate about it, but it's just weird. Being in the stadium's strange as well when it happens. You're like, what's going on?
yeah.
What's going on? It's just a bit. It's all a
Just need
bit
better
clunky at the moment.
communication, don't they? Yeah, yeah.
They do.
Um,
They do.
what my score prediction? Only because I don't know, and because I'm on the Wolves channel, I'm going to say 2-1 Wolves, just because. But I think definitely take a draw against a strong Everton team who obviously want to improve a lot after the last game against Villa. Before we finish off, Adam, I know you've got something there to plug as well.
Well, I have. Thank you, Dave.
That's
Thanks
all
for
right.
letting me. So basically, I work with a brewery in Staffordshire, which isn't too far away from some of your viewers. Most of your, in fact, a lot of your viewers will live in Staffordshire, won't
Yeah,
they? Anyway, and what I do is I do football themed beers. I've got Everton ones, I've got Liverpool ones, unfortunately, although they sell quite a lot. Man United, Man City, England, Stoke, because the brewery is quite close to Stoke, and then I've got Wolves, which is my latest team. So so you get over to fanales.co.uk and check them out. If you purchase them online, get them sent straight to your door, and they're a fantastic kind of addition while you're watching the match. I work with a really good brewery as well called Limestone, so it's decent ale, which is always a bonus. So
perfect.
yeah,
I'll be sure to leave a link to that as well in the description down below. Obviously, I'll leave Adam's links as well. Grand Old Team, his own Twitter and stuff like that. And obviously, you can find all the Talking Wolves links in the description down below. Be sure to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you're new. Adam, again, thanks for coming on today, mate.
no worries, Dave.
Perfect.
I'll let the best team win, as they
Yeah,
say.
we will do. Thanks a
As
lot
long
for
as it's
watching, everyone.